Hello there. Today I wanted to talk about how me and my wife retired in our 30s. I myself retired at age 34, and I can tell you, best decision I've ever made. First thing we had to do was to quit our jobs, of course. That was not difficult. In fact, it was a massive relief. We were both not happy and had very stressful financial jobs. Sure, the money was nice, but not worth the stress. Second thing we were doing was selling our assets. We had first tried to rent out our apartment, but the city we lived in came up with some ridiculous laws that where every bedroom had to have 9 square meter per person. So when a couple wanted to move in, that couple would have to have an 18 square meter bedroom, not something we had in our apartment. So when all this became too much, we thought, let's sell it and then we have the cash in our hands and we can do something else with it. We also had invested in a restaurant. This restaurant actually did rather well, and we also got a nice return on that. Thanks for that one, Rob. After selling our assets, we decided that we wanted to live in a caravan because we wanted to travel and find a place that was the perfect place for us. Sadly, this was when the pandemic started, and so we were locked in our little country where we were living at the time, Luxembourg. But that was actually a really great time because we were just completely worryless, less paperwork thanks to selling everything, and finally I could sleep like a baby at night without having to lie worrying all night about work the next day or any other problems that I had or thought I had at that time. Stress-free also meant that after 10 years of trying to have a baby, suddenly Caroline got pregnant. And this was of course wonderful news for us because we did not expect it at all. 10 years is a long time. However, we did decide already early on that we would always just continue with life whether we had a baby or not and enjoy it as much as we could. We needed to start really thinking of where we wanted to go to. We were now living in this caravan for a year and a half. And by then we had also moved to a property in Germany, a French property where we could stay, which was nicely hidden in the forest, and Caroline could go through her pregnancy in peace. Great times there. However, you can easily get too used to the situation and you need to start to move on at some stage. So one day we decided enough was enough, it's time to go. We said our goodbyes and we took the trip to Sweden. There were several other countries we could have chosen than Sweden. However, based on politics, climate, housing prices, and we also didn't want to be too far away from family and friends, as in the other side of the world. Otherwise, perhaps we would have gone to Patagonia, for example. So here we were on our way to Sweden, excited, so happy, couldn't believe that we were finally doing it. And we had picked out a campsite that was the furthest north that was still open in the winter, because we arrived in October 2021. So up north, the winter starting around that time. When we got there, we were absolutely ecstatic. The air was different, there were not as many people, everybody was way calmer, more relaxed, something that took us a while to get used to. It's just a more laid-back way of living up here. But things started to get pretty cold. When temperatures dropped to -30 Celsius, the frost started creeping into our caravan, and even with our 2 heating elements, plus floor heating that I had installed, plus our gas heating, we couldn't fight the frost. It wouldn't leave the caravan. So for us, that was still exciting. We still had a lot of fun. However, we of course at this time had a 6-month-old baby with us, and her little hands were very cold every night. There was no question that we were definitely going to buy and not rent again. There were 2 houses for sale where we were. And the first house that we were interested in, the real estate agent didn't pick up the phone, whereas the second one did, and thus it was that house that we bought. We managed to move in the day before Christmas, and we had no sofa, we had no bed, but thanks to some very nice friends, they drove us to the nearest town, about an hour and a half away, where we could pick up a bed and sofa and other little necessities last minute. And thus we moved into our house and sat by the fireplace for the next 2 days. And especially after 2 years of living in a caravan, you cannot imagine how happy we were and excited we were to have our own shower with hot water and a toilet inside the house. When we were staying in this little town with about 2,000 people, we started spreading the word around that we were looking for a piece of land in the middle of nowhere, because ultimately that was still our dream. We had lived in big city for decades and were sick of the hustle and bustle and the noise, and we're dreaming of a place where there was no neighbor that would disturb you and you had no neighbor to disturb. And then came the moment that in 2023 a friend of ours came to us and said that he had seen a place on a snowmobile trip. Well, we saw it and decided this is the one for us. In case you want to see what it looks like, you can see one of our previous videos where we take a little tour of the homestead. So we moved in here last year and are on a journey to be as self-sufficient as possible, which is perhaps not impossible, but how far are you willing to go? I don't have any scientific means to make my own diesel or petrol for that matter, or oil to put in my machines. So some things will probably take a while before we are really self-sufficient, and maybe we'll never get there. However, every little thing that we do to be self-sufficient does help us to stay retired. And that was the idea all along. It was not only that we also didn't trust what was in our food, so we wanted to grow our own food and have our own chickens and sheep and cows, which we don't have yet, but hopefully in the future. It was also that, of course, we were saving our trips to the supermarket and saving money. We also stopped drinking. Now, we have been quite heavy alcoholics for a very, very long time. And we have tried to quit many times before. However, this time it worked. And that saves a lot of money. If you're interested in me talking about how we did that, then please also drop a comment down below. And now for the part, what do we do about money? Well, when we lived in the caravan, we came across a guy, John, from No Hype Invest, who helps with investing tips and privacy tips. He referred us to guys called Capex Insiders. These guys are absolutely incredible. You have to do the investing yourself. You can also choose if you want to invest with them and they do it for you. Either way, you pay for the service and you will learn how to become an investor yourself along the way as well by following what they do. Now we have one income portfolio, and this income portfolio is where we get our dividends from, thus our salary. And we have a capital gains portfolio. The capital gains is for creating generational wealth. Well, I think we've all caught up now. We're at the stage of where we're at, homesteading and living the dream. I mean, what else do we want? I don't have an alarm clock in the morning. Of course, now we have animals and they require daily care, but that's fun. That all goes back to us eventually. That's an investment with great returns. it beats sitting in an office any day.